Hey, what's going on, everybody? There's a second video today because I have some more information, and I'll share that with you now in regards to Bitcoin and crypto, obviously. So, some of the areas I'm watching is the 55 to 57K area. Obviously, we're literally there to that 57K. So the absolute low was yesterday's candle, which was really today, right? The new daily candle just started. So this was the low right here. So what I can do is get rid of that line and focus on these two lines here. If the price is going to come, the price could have already bottomed easily, but if it's going to continue working its way down, technically it still hasn't quite tested the bull market support band. That's okay. But yeah, where did I pull these lines? Because people, I've been a couple people said, well, there's no support, right? There's the support's down here. There's no support here, right? And I go, yeah, but look left. You got to look left. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, right? If you go over here, there's some order blocks. So obviously we had some on the top, but since we broke it, we don't need to count that. So here's an order block here. Here's some, so we'll make some closes here. It's not completely perfect through all of them, but it's sufficient enough to be, I would say, some decent support. I mean, you have the order block here, right? You have the bottom of the body of the candles. You have the closes right here. I mean, there's a lot of them all over the place, but I'm not focused on, like, for example, this is a good one here because it slices through that. But since we already broke it, there's no real reason for me to, talk about it. Obviously, there's ones a lot lower, like these two over here. But that's, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We're not even there yet. So I'm focusing on these two. But what I wanted to share with you today is that possibility, but also the path that the altcoins are leading, right? So basically the altcoins are leading. So look at the price of Bitcoin, right? We have this type of correction in here. Boom, 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 dump, right? But look at theta, and I'm going to use theta as the example, right? Or better yet, let's just use total 3 because it's the absolute example. Actually, you know what? Let's go back to theta. Same thing, right? It's got the same type of structure. So we got boom, 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 right? It's got that same type of look where we come down right here. We dump down, right? So think about Bitcoin being right about there. So it's possible that the altcoins are actually leading the way, right? So we have A, B, C inside of this type of descending triangle. It's like a loppy looking one. You get the breakdown and you tag the bull market support band. We're almost there. So when you go compare that to theta, that's exactly what we did. So if that's the case, and that's the reaction we got based off what theta did, maybe that's the reaction what we get from what Bitcoin's going to do. So if that's the case, now I'll take everything off the screen, then we should get something like this, where we come down, right? We hit the bull market support band. We have a bounce up, and then we pull back. We have a low, we make a higher low, and then hopefully this thing can turn around. So, for example, the altcoins are down here, right? They had the pump up. Now they have the pullback. Now they need to hold support. So if Bitcoin right? Now, this is where it gets a little complicated. If Bitcoin has a little bit more down to go, and then it has the pump, right? Or at least, let's see, back into its support area right about there. Let me take that off real quick. Put this one back on. Okay, so we come down, right? And then we bounce about to where this line is. Because when you look at, for example, theta, right, here's the line right here. And it came up exactly to that line. We bounced up to the line, and then we pulled back. And now we retested the bull market support band. So if that's the case, then we should expect Bitcoin to do the same. And if that's the case, right, if we get this move right here, just like what theta did, right, if we get this move right here, then that means theta, giving that it's higher low, should get a pump to the upside. So that is where things get interesting, right? So if Bitcoin, right, so think about Bitcoin being right here. So it needs to consolidate, maybe have another little low and properly test it. Then it bounces up, right? Because look at the chart. I mean, it's got that same look, right? We had this pump to the upside, and we created this sort of triangle pattern where it dumped down to the bull market support band, had a pump, came back. So far, we have a higher low, right? So when you look at Bitcoin is the same exact thing, except it's just lagging behind, right? So we still have this same type of descending triangle, right? Type of look, right? Where we have, we're bouncing in here. We dump down to the bottom, right where the bull market support band is. So you would expect, based off what theta did, based off what, not just theta, I'm just using theta as an example. Same thing with total 3. It doesn't look as nice, but it's the same thing. You have this correction, you have the dump down to the bull market support band. You came all the way back up to the resistance line, then you pulled back down. So if that's the case, then we should see Bitcoin pumping back up. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to do that now, right? I mean, it could actually go lower, right? So let's see. The measured move for theta, I think, was exceeded. Now, I can measure it from here and put it down here. And it was about a pretty good hit, right? So if I do the same thing with Bitcoin, then, it's going to be a lot deeper here. So that's I would say the only issue would be how deep it is based off the measurement. Let's do this here. So, about right there. So if I take that and I put that there, then we definitely have, a pretty significant drop more to come. And that would make kind of sense because we have some proper support right in here, at least, a little bit, right? So if that's the case, right? So that's kind of where the new information lies. Number one, we have, and sorry for the background noise, kids in the background right now. So apologize for that. But anyways, we have the drop here. So the question is, will we stall out at the bull market support band, or do we have to go a little bit more further down to qualify for the measured move? But if we did that, we would kind of lose the bull market support band. But, it has lost it in the past, but it's quickly reclaimed it. Like we can see this one over here, right, where it came down, it tested it, and it did lose it for a little bit before it caught back up. This cycle hasn't been the best for the bull market support band, nowhere near like the bear market. and the previous cycle, back, especially back in 2017. But it still definitely has a lot of confluence in where the price is going. So if this is the case, right, then we have two areas to look for. Number one, the bull market support band, or number two, the measured move down to here. So from worst case scenario, according to that measured move, we have approximately about, from where we are now, approximately about 2.5% to 3%, upwards of almost 5%. Now, to get down to that measured move, that's approximately 8.5%. So that's still quite a ways away. So go back to, Theta, Total 3, same, all the altcoins, right? They have the same type of look, right? I mean, let's look at XRP, for example. This one dropped massively. I mean, you can see here's the triangle, right? We boom, boom, boom. We had the big drop. We came all the way up right back to the support or resistance, and then we pulled back. Now, when you look at this measured move actually overshot by a long ways, right? Well, not too long, but quite a bit. So they all have that type of look. Dogecoin, not so much. VeChain kind of looks more like it's just flagging out. It's flagging. It's going down, which is good, right? Because if it was an ascending channel, then it would break down. If it's a descending channel, it's most likely to break up. So, it's got to, I mean, just look at this here, right? We're channeling down to break out. We're channeling down to eventually, hopefully, break out, right? So, but yeah, let me go back to Theta because I like that example. So just real quick, just to recap, here's our resistance in here, our triangle, right? We consolidate, we break down, we tag the bull market support band. When you look at Bitcoin, basically the altcoins are leading the way, right? Bitcoin was too stubborn. It was in distribution a lot longer than the altcoins. Remember, also the altcoins had a major liquidation event, right? When you look at Theta, XRP, all the altcoins, they had a pretty significant dump, a liquidation, right? So, they already had the big drop, right? Which kind of gave me the hope that when Bitcoin finally made its drop, right? Because we were talking about, the altcoins already made it down to the bull market support band. Bitcoin has not yet did it. So what happens to the alts if Bitcoin decides to drop? Will the alts lose their low? And surprisingly, they didn't, right? They held up. And when you look back, obviously it held the the bull market support band. So that was a very, very good thing. So if that's the case, right, then, let's finish this up in here. Maybe we hit the bull market support band. Maybe we go a little bit lower and hit the measured move. Then we start working our way back up, right? And then we start to come back down. And then that's the question, what happens at that point right here, because that's where the altcoins are. That's as much of the roadmap as we have, right here. So to get an edge on the roadmap, we can see Theta after hitting it, right? We had the bounce back up. So if that's the case, this is my main emphasis here. If that's the case, then Bitcoin will also get the move back up. But here's the big point right here. If that's the case, right? If Bitcoin gets this move back to the upside, then that means, go back to Theta and the altcoins, what happens to them right there? Well, again, if Bitcoin does it, right, if Bitcoin has this move up, then that is basically, the big sign that the altcoins are also going to have that move up. So maybe that's the moment where we have the breakout. Now, I will say this. If Bitcoin has to come down all the way back down here to that lower support area based off the measured move, right? Let me actually measure it one more time just so we can be sure. And I'm going to measure it actually from the base, the bottom here, to the top of the close. I just want the close. And then I'm going to put that right there. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to drop it right there. So let me make sure it's right on the dot, or at least close enough. And then, yeah, so it's the same. It's about the same. So here's the thing. If we have to go down to that area, then the question becomes, okay, well, what happens to the alts, right? Because then, of course, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? Worst case, if we have to do the measured move. So if we dump all the way down here, still quite a ways away, I think, 8%? Then what does that mean for Theta? What does that mean for Total 3? What does that mean for all the altcoins? Because they're still, they definitely need relief, because here's our low, here's our bull market support band. We need to get the heck away from it. We don't want to be near this anymore. We tested it, we can test it again, but eventually we got to get the heck away from it. Because if Bitcoin has another big drop, then we're most likely going to fall and take out this low. Okay? And if that's the case, then we would probably, where would we go? Well, we would probably, let me take a Fibonacci retracement from here up to here. See, the very interesting part about it is we already hit the 618. So we already had a proper 618 retrace. We're currently making a higher low. But if Bitcoin wants to dump a little bit lower, my next assumption would be the 702. Right? So if we hit the 702. But then the concern is, we need to get back above the bull market support band, yada, 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 right? So I would look at it as some type of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We get back down in here, and then we can get going, right? So that would be the flag, right? That would be a proper, flag formation before that pump to the upside. So what the count would be for that, I would still say an ABC, A, B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for C. So A, B, C. But it looks kind of big. This wave in here looks awful big. So, when you compare it to this wave here, to this wave here, it looks a lot different. So I'm a little bit, trying to figure it out myself. So go back to Bitcoin, right? If we get that pump, either from the bull market support band or from this low, then go back to Theta, then that means, if we do come down, we probably hopefully hold the low, but we would probably dip below it. It could be a liquidity grab where we break below just ever so slightly with a sharp impulse off the bottom. But the important thing is what comes after this is finished, whether it be here or here, is the pump. How do we know that? Well, potentially we know that because that's what Theta did, right? We have the triangle, boom, boom, boom. We dumped all the way down to the bull market support band. Then we had the pump. So I'm looking for this for Bitcoin. So once Bitcoin gets that, right, then we can see the altcoins continue higher, either down here or here. So that's basically what I had to say. So we'll see how this plays out. But so far, so good. When I look at the retracement again, let's see what Theta did. Theta already hit the 1702. Now, I think it deserved it more because it had such an explosive rally, right? Theta was a big rally compared to, like things like, H bar and other coins out there. So XRP for sure. I think, even more than Ethereum. I can't remember what Ethereum's was, but anyway, it had a sufficient enough correction. So, basically what I want to see from Theta is this hold. And here, maybe we can go a little bit lower, but as long as we hold this red line right here, I'm happy. I'm a happy camper. And it would make sense, right? Because this moved down, we dumped, right? We had a sharp impulse, and then we came back, had a higher low, and we tested it again. So we tested it once, we came up, we tested it again. Same thing here. We came down, we tested it once, came up, came down, tested it again. So is that going to be the leeway for a continuation? Well, Bitcoin would have to have this move to the upside. And, the only way that happens is once this thing is finished. So let's look at Bitcoin now. Where is the retracement on Bitcoin? I don't think it's very high. The problem is we're not even at the 50% retracement for Bitcoin, right? If we exclude the wicks, right? If we can exclude the wicks in here and just focus on the bodies, right? Because that's really what matters. You could be more conservative and do it without the wicks, but let's just do body to body. Then we still haven't hit the 50%, right? So we're getting there, and that's typical, a 50% correction, right? But again, what that measured move is, right? The measured move from this triangle, the same thing that Bitcoin did. And when I say triangle, I'm just saying like the shape of it. It's not a technical triangle, but the shape of it. So what Theta did, right, has this triangle, and the measured move from this triangle, so you measure it from here to here, that is exactly where it landed, right? So if that's the case on a lot of these altcoins, then the measured move would be exactly at the 618, which would be exactly where the altcoins are right now. So that's kind of interesting. The problem with that is we would lose the bull market support band. So I would have to do a little bit more homework and see how things reacted in these corrections as far as retracements. You could see this move example. This was exactly where the halving was, the same type of move. We went all the way down to the 886. We wicked down there. I don't think that's going to quite happen. Remember, the market cap is much bigger than it was back in 2016 by a lot. So it takes much more to move the volatility, right? So, but at least we hit, the 618 and the 702. So, the big question is that what's happening now? We do have the measured move down to that 618, and we also have the 618, and we also know that Theta hit its measured move. So that's kind of where we are. But if it does hit the measured move, then the problem with that is we risk the altcoins making a lower low. It wouldn't be such a bad thing, right? It wouldn't be so bad, especially for Theta, right? Because Theta is so high up. Let's look at this a bit bigger here. So when you zoom all the way out, we can see our range in here. And we did backtest the range, right? So worst case scenario, we would have to, backtest this area here. So, this inverse head and shoulders, basically the top of the Wyckoff structure, not the tip, but sort of the top of all of these support lines. So if Bitcoin does hit its measured move, then we can see something down in here. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. The reason I'm bringing it up is because, I did a little bit of, let the dust settle a little bit. The FOMC meeting is finished. Now we can have some time to kind of look at it objectively, just throwing all options on the table. I would like it to be done now. It could be done, right? I still want to see Bitcoin go a little bit further and hit it. But if it has to do its measured move, like what Theta did, then that's the case. Then we would probably come down to backtest this area. So, but if that's the case, here's the big thing, another big thing. If that's the case, then what do we have for Theta? Then that means, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe I'm saying this, but that means that this wave is not the third wave. And you say, well, what does that mean? This is wave 1, which means we still have wave 3, we still have wave 5, and we still have another 5, right? So you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, right now, it could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But if this thing drops down, then what that is a 1, 2, 1, 2. That is the most bullish setup ever, is a 1, 2, 1, 2. Or it could be the most bearish, depending on which way the 1, 2 is going, right? So, just take a simple trend line here and match it up right about there. Let me extend it out a little bit more, just to kind of give us a rough idea here, right about there, right? So lining it up right about there. So basically a 1, 2, here's the top of wave 1, we have 2. We have another 1, a massive 1. This is a 580% 1, 2, 1, 2. It's huge. We come all the way down to the top of wave 2, right? Which means we would dump a lot more, but a very small price to pay for the future of the next wave, right? Because then at that moment, now you're talking about a huge wave to the upside, basically dwarfing these two waves here, right? So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and then 5. So something like that. Now, I don't know how it's going to look. I just drew it just to draw it, but I don't know how it's going to look. I would imagine we get in these retracement levels and we would stall out. I would like to see the third wave get back into the 618 at least. So around that $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 range. It's hard to say right now because we don't really know if this is the bottom, but somewhere up in here. Right? So if we get a 1, 2, 1, 2, so put it this way. I know we've all been wanting the big bull market support band to hold. I still want it to hold. I still would rather just for simpler context. But if we do have to come down and tag it, right, then the 618 based off the measured move, then that's still about 8 or 9% away, which means theta is very close to its edge. Let's see. Let me take everything off. This was supposed to be a short video, by the way. We're still, well, that's going from the upside. I did it wrong, so let me do it again. I gotta measure it going down. So from where we are now to the downside, that's about almost 14%. So you know what? We could still hold it. If Bitcoin goes down about 8 or 9%, I would imagine, that 13, 14% would be sufficient enough, you would think, right? But, I mean, I'm not sure, right? Because if this thing, if it is going to go down, I would like to see a little pump back up before down to give us a little bit more breathing room before that thing ends. right? And then we can see a 1, 2, 3, some type of three-wave move here, right? Before, holding in here before pumping back up. But if we lose it, and we come down here, a lot of people would freak out. We're at $1.50, $1.40, $1.60 area. It's going to feel like crap. But then that would basically backtest this zone in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's a pretty long ways from that area. I don't think it would get, that's a pretty long way. Let's see, what's the measurement of that? That's still about, that's another 28% away. That's a pretty big ask. If we drop 30%, we can get a 1, 2, 1, 2. So let me do this. I'll put the retracement back on. And let's see here. I'll do it from wick to wick. This time we hit the 702. So I would say the 786. And the 786 is a little bit higher than here. So here's the 786 right about there. And then here's the back test zone right about there. So that's still quite a bit away. That's still kind of far. Of course, it can stop anywhere in between the 702. So basically this box in here, right? So anywhere in here. This is all, remember, this is all contingent on Bitcoin hitting its measured move. If Bitcoin holds the bull market support band, then we're good, right? We don't have nothing to worry about. And yes, you could say, well, if that's a 1, 2, 1, 2 and it's extremely bullish, then isn't that what we want to happen? And in theory, yes. But the issue is, if Theta does it, then that means there's going to be a lot of pressure on Bitcoin going down. And all I'm trying to do is reduce the risk of a bear market or a reaccumulation phase, right? Because if we get down here too deep, it's going to cause more uncertainty. People aren't going to feel like buying the dip anymore. People are going to be panicking. Basically, the correction would take longer, and we don't want that. We want it to go now, right? We want it to, some of us don't care. Like, I personally would like it to get going because I've been ready, but some people aren't really ready and they would like to buy more. So either way, it is what it is. But if we do have this dump, because if we do come down here, there's just more risk down in here. There's more things can go bad. Yeah, it would be a very good bullish setup for a 1, 2, 1, 2 for Theta, but it would also increase the risk of us coming back and getting rejected. So, because if this happens, a lot of the altcoins would lose their support. They would lose their bull market support band. It basically would just take a lot longer for it to wrap up in here. So my thinking is, if let me go back to the total 3, and then let me put the retracement on that. It was a pretty big wick, so I'll do it from the bodies. We didn't hit the 702 yet. So I would say between the 786, which is perfectly aligned with the backtest zone, right, to the 702. So somewhere in here. So, whatever coin, right? If you look at ADA, for example, it already lost its bull market support band. If I put it up here on the retracement, we already hit the 702. It would probably come down right in here. This cluster of candles right in here. So basically right in there. And then as far as Theta Fuel goes, let me go to Theta Fuel. We're still very high away. We're still very far away from the bull markets. The good thing about Theta Fuel is, Yes, it is dumping, but again, it hasn't tested it yet, right? It hasn't tested it. Not saying it will, but it has basically a pillow. It has a cushion in between the support, so basically it can play around. It has a lot of wiggle room, so there's not a lot of risk for something to go wrong with the price of Theta fuel. So if I do the same thing, and I measure it from this wave here, like we didn't even have really a retracement, I don't think, did we? Yeah, we actually did. We came up here. I mean, if you measure it from this big wick down up here, we did have a big 702. But, if you take that wick out, I mean, it wouldn't make any sense. So we still have plenty of room. So Theta Fuel can afford to lose approximately, I would say between 20 and 30%. So that's quite a bit, right? And that's around what Theta is. And if it did that, it still would be very, very bullish, because we're still above the backtest zone. We're still above this zone in here, right? And from the Wyckoff example, when you get up here, you play around in here. You come all the way up, you come all the way down, you come all the way up. But the structure that it's building, to me, looks like a running flat. It's looking pretty bullish. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, Theta Fuel will only show up to the party. It's showing up to the party. It just needs Bitcoin to sort of solidify it. So, yeah, that's basically where we are. Let's look real quick at the small time frame just to see anything's changed. Nope, we're still holding the low. We're still holding the low. Where's the bull market support band? There it is. So let me just draw my lines here. Right about there. So we're very, very close. So, right here we bottomed. I think that was like 4 o'clock in the morning my time. I just woke up. I just felt like I should look at my phone real quick, and I saw it. I'm like, dang, it finally did it. But finally got close to it. So we have this bounce up. This looks like a flat. So it comes up here, and then we have this sharp impulse to the downside, this sort of correction back up, and now it sort of looks like it wants to do this. But again, we just have to wait. It could be a double bottom, right? It kind of looks like a head and shoulders though. When you look at it, it looks like a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder. The measured move approximately would be smack in the middle of the bull market support band, which would be perfect if we can get that. I say let's just hit it. We're so close. Let's just get it over with. So the thing to me, and what I'm liking about it is, if we get down in here, we would have probably been very oversold. Let's look at the 4-hour RSI. I mean, we are definitely in oversold territory, right? So let me just put that up there for a minute. I mean, you can see, right, when we get down here, we come back up. When we get down here, we come back up, right? When we get down here, we come back up. I mean, we've been down here for a little bit now. So if we have another hit down, then it's just, we want to see some bullish divergence come in here. So, especially on the 4-hour chart, you could see the bottom here, 1, 2, 3, right? Kind of a little bit there. So if we come down and the RSI comes down but makes a higher low, that'll be good. But I'm not too certain on the 4-hour. It probably looks better on the 1-hour. Sort of in the middle here. So I think this, let's see what Thursday brings. Thursday's usually interesting price action. I've been noticing like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday's been interesting. So as far as the count goes, On the higher time frames, we don't quite have 5 waves, but on the lower time frames, I mean, it seems like we do, right? We have 1, 2, all of this is 3, 4, and 5. So now we're starting to, build a base down in here and hopefully reverse. Maybe it's Wyckoff. Maybe it's a miniature Wyckoff structure, and we come up and we sweep the lows, tag the bull market support band, and then go to the moon. That would be the best thing ever, just to come down, sweep it really, really fast, and have a massive, massive pump with a vengeance, right? A huge reversal, right? If we tag that bull market support band with a huge reversal, just like, back in the day how it used to do, it comes down and it has a big strong pump, then that's going to be a very, 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 very good sign. Let me show you a couple examples and I'll wrap it up. Look at this. We came down and we had a massive pump to the upside. Look at this one. We came all the way down. As soon as we hit it, literally as soon as we hit it, bam, we shot huge up to the upside. Same thing here. We came all the way down. We tagged it. As soon as we tagged that thing, we blasted to the upside. So that's what I'm hoping to see happen again. Obviously, it can take its time. Like, look at this example. We came down here. We're taking its time, right? And maybe that's what has to happen to make up for lost time, because, we have recovered faster than any other cycle in history, right? This is from the bottom to the top is very fast, right? From the bottom to the break of the all-time high took a lot longer because we had this pit stop in the middle, right? Same thing over here. We had base number 1, base number 2, base number 3. When you look at it now, we only have base number 1, base number 2. So are we building a base 3? It would definitely be different, right? And remember, we still have, this could be a shoulder, this could be a head, and we could still get another big shoulder. So again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But so far, let's focus on the day-to-day price action. If it starts to develop something like this, we'll get into it. But always know why you're in crypto, why you're hodling, why it's important to be, in my opinion, not financial advice, but accumulating. Even if people think it's the top of the market, right? It's still, crypto is an anti-debt instrument. And during this sort of economic, financial transition out of the old central banking system into the new age technology, without even regulation, we're still at the beginning of the beginning. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, looking at XRP versus BTC on yesterday's candle, which was really today's candle, 8.61%. When you look at Theta versus Bitcoin, that's almost 5%. That's a good sign. That's showing altcoins are like, no, I don't want to go down. Basically the altcoins jumped in the water, and now they're used to the water. When you jump into the water, into a pool, it's cold, but then you kind of get used to it, right? The altcoins are used to it, and they're like, no, I'm staying in. Bitcoin is barely just tipping its toes in the water. So somebody come around and push that guy into the pool so we can get going. If you want the earlier version, I put out a video earlier. Definitely watch this one because I go over the sequential. And by the way, I forgot to mention, we do have a 9 on the 4 hour. Not sure how relevant that is, but we'll talk about it. Alright guys, that'll wrap it up. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you can, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any coins you want me to take a look at on the next rapid fire, let me know. Drop them in the comments section and I'll take a look. And if you want to support the channel, you can always do so through the YouTube tip jar, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.